only 4 years old, but she's 4 going on 10 or 12 or 15. I don't know, whatever. But it's so much fun because she's like a little mini me to my daughter, Whitney. It's just incredible. Oh, we're live. Oh, hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Gray. I think I want to call you Gray from now on. Gray's a little cray.
I'm Gray.
Gray.
I'm trying to catch you. I really am. I'm trying to get it up there and catch you on that. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to get started. We are so excited about tonight and so honored. We have two very special guests. These two people have meant so much in my life and in Lisa's life. We're just so excited about it. First, it's kind of funny. I'm going to actually introduce Kathy first. Kathy is actually the president of Go Givers International. She's the co-founder of the Go Giver Success Alliance mentorship community, a certified Go Giver speaker and coach, EOS integrator, Colby certified consultant. This is the fun part for me, because with Kathy being the Colby certified consultant, I tend to gravitate toward friends who can figure me out, and so pretty well. And so we're just very, very honored and tickled to have Kathy Tagenel with us tonight.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. And then I don't know how to introduce this man without, it's funny. When I was introducing John on the show, I did the same thing I'm about to do with you, brother. And we've been friends a long time, but it's so hard for me not to do this.
Fanboy.
What?
Fanboy.
What'd I say?
No, I meant you're going to do fanboy.
Oh, fanboy. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bob Burg is a name you all know, because if you follow us, you know about Bob and Kathy, you know about the Go Givers Success Alliance, you know all the things, because that's actually how Lisa and I met, and we tell the story over and over. But Bob is a Hall of Fame speaker. As a matter of fact, I was honored to be sitting at the table the night he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and it was a very special moment. He's the author of best-selling books like Endless Referrals and Adversaries into Allies. He's the co-author of the Go Giver series, which has sold millions of copies when you add them all up. It's just incredible. He in January of 2000, a sales mentor of mine gave me 2 books. And he said, "Jeff West, I want you to read these 2 books." And I said, "Frank Davies, I am a grown man." Actually, I added a word in between grown and man. So I am a grown man. I will decide if I'm going to read those books. And Frank, I'm going to read those books. But one of them was Dr. John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And the other one was by an author that I had not heard of at that point. It's a book called Endless Referrals by Mr. Bob Burg. Those 2 books, and applying what I learned in those 2 books, literally changed my life. It changed my direction of my career. I went from being an OK district sales coordinator with Aflac. Within 4 years, I was a state sales coordinator, and I did my last 10 years with Aflac as a state sales coordinator. So it's that kind of impact that this man has had in my life and in the lives of countless others. And so without any more of me gushing and all that stuff, I'm just telling you, I love you guys. I'm glad you're here. Everybody welcome Bob Burg and Kathy Tagenel. Do this.
Same way about the 2 of you, believe me.
So
I also happen to have 2 of my favorite books. I know Frank Davies. I remember that name, by the way, Frank Davies. He was a legend. 2 of my favorite books. The first one of these I read, The Unexpected Tour Guide by Jeff West. His first parable, award-winning parable, and then Said the Lady with the Blue Hair. And that's Jeff's second award-winning book. It's your first, Lisa. And by this time, I think everyone in Kathy's and my sphere of influence knows about both of these books, and they've touched a lot of lives. So thank you for doing that.
Oh.
And we got a lot of awesome people on already. We got Peg Duchesne, which is friends. They're friends. She's friends with all of us.
I've been friends with Peg for, probably 20 years at least.
And Teresa Staples, who's actually in New Hampshire with me. Janet Leonard, who's a good friend of ours in Ireland. And Estelle.
We're in Ireland. I'm going to Ireland next week.
Estelle doesn't want to be French toast anymore. What is her new moniker?
Pastel.
That makes sense. That's Estelle Pastel.
Scott Easterday's here. And those of you that some of these went on my end through the StreamYard platform just says Facebook user. So hello to everyone out there named Facebook user. We love you.
And Dawn's on, Dawn King. So yay!
So what's going on with you guys? What are the things that are happening right now? I know you put an awesome event on today for people in the Go Giver Success Alliance. I'd love to hear you guys talk about the program, talk about some things, because this audience, everybody in there could benefit from being part of that.
Well, Alexandra Watkins was amazing.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. In fact, and I apologize for turning my back on you. I know it's rude, so please forgive me.
And she did a talk today.
This is her book
for members
called "Hello, My Name Is Awesome." Subtitle: How to Create. Kathy's got it. How to create member names that stick. And she, I mean, this person, I mean, some of her clients, little known companies you may have heard of. Let's see, Disney, Microsoft, Wrigley, Turner Networks, Fujitsu,
Burger King with the Baconator.
She has really named things that I didn't know could be named, but she goes through a whole system, a whole process of doing so. So she took us through this on this special session we had, and I mean, she is just the pro's pro.
The lady's brilliant.
She is.
To be able to take something and get creative down to that level. Like I can spin stories, I can do what I do, and I can be very creative. But to get something that is catchy, fun, and in 2 or 3 words, that's a little tougher.
Yeah. The funny thing too is she, since reading her, and this is just since reading her book, never mind everything else I've learned, because she's on our calls every week on our Coffee and Conversations, is now when I hear any names, whether it's a company name, a product name, a launch name or whatever, it's almost like I put it to the Alexandra test. You know, and I know if it's a good name or not. So that's when you know a teacher is really good at what they do.
Yeah, Dawn caught me. I said Baconator was I said Burger King, it's Wendy's. Dawn caught it. Thank you, Dawn. And if you don't mind, I wanted to say, for those who are listening that are unaware, the Go Giver Success Alliance mentorship program is what we're talking about, and that's I think that could benefit just about anybody, because let's say you're thinking you saw Alexandra's program and you didn't need a moniker, you weren't thinking about a moniker, you don't want to be a moniker name or whatever. It doesn't matter to me when you go to stuff like this, like our Wednesday calls. To be around creative people makes me more creative in what I do. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be the same kind of creative, but just to have that much creative energy around me has helped me.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be true too?
Oh, absolutely. It makes us all stretch too. And because what's happening, what Bob and Kathy have put together on this is we're all in there to be filled somewhat, but everybody's trying to be helpful and provide value to the other people in the room constantly. It's not a sometimes thing that happens every day. And that's because of what you two have done and how you've set it up.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank
you. And we know that when I say we, I mean Kathy. Everybody knows it. It's not even a secret anymore.
You know, Bob, would you mind? I don't know if you mind doing this, but I have a hard time sometimes explaining to people that, for instance, when I joined, I had to stop thinking about, because I knew what this was going to be. I had talked to you about it, and of course I read the book and had, a big fan of that for years. And I knew once I made the decision to join, I had to stop thinking about what I was going to get out of it and turn my thinking around to what value am I going to bring to the group? And it's hard to explain that to someone who doesn't. Do you think you could explain that a little bit, make more sense than I do?
Well, no, because I think you make great sense with it, and you're the embodiment of somebody who lives that kind of life and conducts your business that way. That's one reason why you've been so sustainably successful. I think really with the book itself, the Go Giver and the Go Giver way, if you will, It's simply that shifting your focus, and that's really where it all begins. It's shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others, understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for any kind of woo-woo, way out there, magical, mystical type of reasons. Not at all. It actually makes very rational, very logical sense, because when you're that person who can take your focus off of yourself and place it on serving other people, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire. When you can move off yourself and focus on helping other people, helping the marketplace, which is simply a group of individuals, right, to help solve their challenges and problems. When you can move from a focus on yourself to a focus on helping others move closer to happiness, people feel good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you when and if that's appropriate. They definitely want to be your personal walking ambassador. They want to tell the world about you. And again, this sort of ties into human nature in a very a natural way. Natural, right? That and I'll say this when I speak at conferences, that nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. They're not going to buy from you because you have a specific goal. Goals are great, but that's not why they're going to buy from you. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. And they're not even going to buy from you just because you're a nice human being. They're going to buy from you because they believe that ultimately they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And that's great news for that person, that entrepreneur, that salesperson, that leader who really has a heart for service, who has a heart from really wanting to make that other person's experience great. And that's why it works. And that's so the Go Giver Success Alliance is all people who live their lives and conduct business through that mindset. And as you know, 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 ends up equaling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And so that's really the gist of it.
I think it's pretty cool. I know you enough to know that you were raised by two really amazing parents. And so you've got that foundation in there. And I'm assuming that even though we all have to grow into our own skin to a certain degree and none of us are perfect, I'm assuming that's pretty much the way you were raised. And it resonates so well with the other people in the world. It's gone from, well, I love how John David Mann has described this. He said, you two wrote a really great book with The Go-Giver, but that's not why it's become the huge success it's become. It's become the huge success because of you two, and about how you're constantly promoting, constantly interacting, and getting that message out. And it's literally changed a lot of lives. And that I always say, I hope when we get in heaven, we get to find out people whose life got a little better just because we were around, even if we don't know them. I'm thinking that'd be a great reward in heaven. And brother, you two are going to have a tremendous opportunity if that's the case. So
thank you. And of course, we all know that John he was really the master writer and storyteller who made that happen, because The Go-Giver's a parable. 3 of the 4 books in the series are parable. And of course, he and Anna, his lovely wife, wrote a 5th book, The Go-Giver Marriage, which is a wonderful book. But so these are, parables, most of them. But John is really just such a fantastic story. And he has a great course he's doing now where he's actually teaching people how to write a book. And I got to tell you, this guy is a master of the craft. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me how he does what he does. I shared a LinkedIn post the other day that he did where he was kind of telling a story about a story. Mm-hmm. And the story he told was gripping in and of itself. And it's like, how does he do that stuff?
He's at a different level. I hope to be him when I grow up.
You're pretty darn good at it. I'm telling you, your books now, and you tell a great story. So,
thank you.
And Kathy, I don't know how many people I've told about how you made up your last name. I love that. I love that is like the naughty rule all over the place. Oh.
Oh, I'm so touched that I use the naughty rule. Yay.
I love that.
funny.
Tell the story if you don't mind. That'd be
The only
great.
Tagenel in the world. So that's how unique the name
Yes, it is.
is.
It was back in 2014. I had been divorced for 5 years. Zader was my married name. My maiden name was Camp, Kamp. And I, as much as I love my dad and his last name, I just didn't want to go back. So I was like, I'm going to create my own name, because it turned out Zader, Josh had created it when he was 21 in a creative writing. And I thought,
wow.
well, I've had a made up name for 15 years. Why can't I make up my own? So I set out to make up my own name. And so I picked, I'm like, I have to have a cool letter. And so I chose T for truth. And then I didn't want a name anybody else had. So I was just sitting there goofing around trying to get creative. So I took the word elegant, because that was one word that resonated with me. I wrote it backwards and like, no, that is not going to work. And then I just started doing the anagrams to the word elegant. Again, just trying to get creative juices flowing. And I had this list of like 11 words, and Tagenel jumped out. I didn't know why, but I'm like, that's it. And then about an hour later, the first thing I did is I went to see, is the domain name available? And it was available. I said, that's my name. And I did a search, and there was one soccer player in South Africa who has this name as his first name. There are no last names with Tagenel. Or I would like to say it sounds better in French, Tagenel.
Oh, like that.
Everything sounds better in French and Italian. Languages, just anything sounds good, right?
Right.
That's way more elegant than I am. I'm just telling you. I don't speak in that class of French. So
I say Target instead of Target. Does that count?
we counted today.
Yeah, when I came back to the name and looked at it, I realized, it jumped out. My father's name was in the middle of my new name. And then I was like,
Oh,
my dad's name is Gene. And I'm like, that's why it's my name. So
that's awesome.
he ended up being very touched. He was a little bummed I let go of camp, but that his first name's in there. He's happy now.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, because I just think that is awesome.
I do too.
That is awesome.
For those of you that are watching this either live or in the replays that go out, the behind the scenes in the Go Givers International, the entire Go Giver movement, Bob is on stage. Bob is a face, and Kathy is literally behind the screen working the handles. I'm just kidding.
No, that's pretty accurate.
Kathy, I'd love for you to tell the story of how you and Bob met, and especially how you got the nickname 99.
Okay. I'll let Bob do the 99 part. So how we met is I had been a huge fan of endless referrals. It was how I built my business. I'll credit BNI. I had been a member of BNI. And so it had been like 2005, and they mentioned the book. I got it. And, at the time I had a marketing firm. And so I just started applying all those principles. And then a few years later, my husband at the time sent me this email, and it was from Bob Burg. And I was like, I grabbed the book and I go back to his office. We worked from home. And I'm like, is that email really from the Bob Burg? I'm hoping endless referrals. Here, I'll actually. Is that really from the Bob Burg? And my husband looks at me like, okay, you're crazy. And he goes, yeah. Bob has been a columnist on the Atlasphere for 3 years. Where have you been? Now, the Atlasphere was this networking directory. It was a side project my husband had. He was in grad school at the time. I was building the marketing firm. So I obviously wasn't paying that much attention. But I remember there was a Bob Burg, but I didn't realize it was the same guy, that I'd been quoting at all of my marketing workshops. So we promoted his live workshop. We went to that workshop. It was the Extreme Business Makeovers in 2007. So I met Bob in person. The Go Giver was coming out later that year, and we were fortunate to get an advance copy to read. And then an email came out and said, would you like to host a live event? And I immediately wrote back, would you come to Albuquerque? So I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Tom, his business partner said, sure, sell 200 tickets, line up sponsors, and Bob will be there. And I was like, okay, I've never done that before, but I'm bringing Bob Burg to Albuquerque. So I set about, selling my tickets. And a couple months later, my event was still not until the end of March. Tom calls me up and said, would you do this nationally for us? And I'm thinking to myself,
Great job.
don't you want to have me have my event first to see how it goes? And he was like, no, I think you know what you're doing. Go for it. So we ended up having 11 live events together that year. And that started our working together.
So she's brilliant. I mean, she systemizes something and remember, she had never done something like that before. It's not like she had something to model that she could, learn from. She started from scratch and she created her own system for doing that. And we recognize that right away.
Thank you. And it's because it tapped into some of my natural talents, plus my experience. Fortunately, I was networked well in Albuquerque at that time. And I just loved what I got to do. I got to go out and promote this book and Bob Burg. And indirectly, it was promoting my business. So it was so cool.
I love that story.
So I want to hear the 99. Yeah, we want to hear the 99 part.
So many of the people watching, they are not old enough to remember the show Get Smart.
But don't say that.
In the 60s.
I remember it. I'm not old.
No, you're not. I'm surprised that you even remembered. But although reruns, of course. So I'm not talking about the movies which came out, but I'm sure they were very good. But I only saw the show in the 60s. It was my favorite show. Yep. Green Acres comes close, but
I'm about to break into theme songs here for not.
I can do the theme songs. And so if you remember. Get Smart, that Max was the guy who was kind of like he stumbled around. He somehow things worked out, but he was always getting into trouble, and he was, whatever. And 99 always saved the day. Max always got the credit though. Okay? and if you look at on Wikipedia where it gives a description of the characters, it said, I thought this was so funny. It says, 99 was the more competent agent of the team. I said, yeah, we're Max and 99. And we have, if you go to the GoGiverSuccessAlliance.com and scroll down the page, you'll see me on my shoe phone. That's the 99.
That is one of my favorite marketing pictures you guys have. That is a great picture. Kathy, when you were talking about getting the email from Bob Burg, it's very similar to the story of how I actually first met Bob. I had been given that book, the Endless Referrals book, in January of 2000. And 2 straight years, I set record years in my district. And then I became a regional sales coordinator with Aflac. Well, I'm in my office, and during this time, I was being asked to come in to speak to the training schools in North Texas, to speak to the new agents. And part of what I would do, I tell my story, but I would also talk about endless referrals, more endless referrals than the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, because I was dealing with people who needed that part the most. They were starting their career. But I would talk about it all the time, and I kept promoting it and promoting it and promoting it. Well, I'm in my office in Plano, Texas, one day, and my administrator buzzes my phone, and she says, you got a phone call. I said, okay, who is it? And she says, it's a guy named Bob Burg. And I said, yeah, right. One of my friends is pulling my leg here because they know I just geek out about this book. And just they're teasing me. So I said, okay, put it through. And I answer the phone, and Bob, in that positive vocal velocity voice that he has, says, hi, Jeff, this is Bob Burg. And I said, sure it is, buddy. And he said, excuse me? And I said, is this really Bob Burg? He says, yeah, this is really Bob Burg. And I said, oh my gosh, I just stuck my foot so far into my mouth. It was hilarious. And I told him how much he had meant to, the book had meant to me, and I didn't even know him. And we just kind of began a friendship there. And he was doing what salespeople do. He was prospecting with me to try to get with Aflac events. Had I known then what I know now, I probably would have still stuck my foot in my mouth, but I would have been so excited for the friendship that started. It just
Yeah, very kind.
So
And okay, so where do you remember, Mr. Berg? I think you and I met at a NSA New England meeting, I think.
Yeah, and then I think you and your mom and your kid and me went to dinner.
Yeah, you had my kid up on your shoulder like Tiny Tim.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, right.
It was that long ago. I have those
It
pictures.
was.
That's
Yeah,
yeah, that's when I found out how short I am.
you are kind of short.
Oh,
I'm
come
not
on
tall, and
now.
I'm taller than you. I
I
like
was
that.
gonna say, I was gonna say, you're right there with me, buddy.
I know.
But Mr. Berg, it's like, how's the air up there?
For
But I
those of you,
thought I was tall
It's
before that. See, I
how,
didn't
how tall
know.
are you, Bob? You're 6'4", maybe 6'3".
no, 6'2", 6'2.5".
Okay,
Although I
so
think I'm already starting to shrink a little
I
bit.
I definitely have. Used to be five. I would tell everybody I'm 5'9.5", 5'11" in my boots. I've lost 2 inches. Last time I got my physical, the doctor said you don't need to worry about it. It's just what's going to happen as you get older. But I
Yeah.
was like 2 inches shorter.
You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Don't go back to the
yeah.
Hey, Kathy, one thing I would like for you to just take a couple of minutes to talk about, if you don't mind, the Colby analysis that you do for people, and how you do it for companies and individuals, because the people in our group could so benefit from getting that analysis from you, so they know where their strengths are. So maybe talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Thank you so much. I love this. And I think everyone needs to understand what their striving instincts are. Everyone, we're really familiar with cognitive, which is the thinking part of our mind. That's how smart we are, what we're capable of. Think of it as your skills, your experience, and background. Then there's the feeling, or affect is what they technically call it. And that's our personality, our preferences, our values, what inspires us. So I like to think of it's what we do, why we do it. But then Kathy Colby is the only person who has figured out how to identify how we naturally take action. And she found out these are actually what she calls striving instincts. We're each born with a natural way to take action, and it's how we can be successful. And if we work against our grain, we wear ourselves out because it takes twice the amount of energy. But when you're working in your strength zone, and there are 4 action modes, when you're in each one of your strengths and you manage this mental energy throughout your day, you can just flow through your day and you don't have to end exhausted. And how many of you end the day and you're like, I am so exhausted, I can't even decide what to do for dinner, right? So understanding this about yourself can help you really better manage your energy, your mental energy. We're so used to managing our physical energy. When you've worn yourself out and you just got to go take a nap, sit and do nothing. Well, we have mental energy. And whenever we're making a decision, solving a problem, trying to come up with something creative, we're actually burning mental calories. And we only have so much of that energy to use up during the day. And so to be the most productive, we need to make sure that we can manage that. So that's what the Colby A Index will tell you. And then I love helping people understand their results and then leveraging those strengths so that they can work most productively. But then that just leads to greater joy when you understand that.
I get to see her do it all the time too at the Beyond the Mastermind events that we have.
Right.
And I remember when I think Jeff, you attended, and well, you were one of the guest master coaches at one of the recent ones, but years ago when we were doing the, I think it was the Entrepreneur Academies, and you were there. I think she was doing her Colby back then, and I remember she used to go around the table, and she'd be able to share with people certain strengths, certain the ways that they really shined or shone or whatever it is.
Right.
And I remember people, some people actually literally crying because they would say, wow, I'm okay then. I'm not broken. This is why I feel this way. And so it's not a personality test, and by any means, it's simply how that person works to their strengths.
Right.
And I've seen her just touch lives doing that. And it's remarkable. I never get tired of it. It's like every time I sit in on one of the sessions when she does that, I learn something new.
Well, Kathy, when you did mine with me, and we did the coaching you did with me after that, it helped me narrow the focus to what I want to do for the rest of my life a little more. Because my happy place is when I'm being creative and I'm spinning a tale and I'm playing with the characters in my mind. I'm doing all that. Don't get me too involved in making the things work after I get it all done. Lisa's the magic behind that. I can go out and sell. I can sell a lot. I can do a lot of things in that respect. But Lisa's a master at that part. But you helped me realize that. I mean, I knew I liked doing it, but I had no idea it was because that's how I'm made up. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. And it's fascinating because both of you initiate in what's called the quick start, and that's our instinct to improvise. It's how we handle risk and uncertainty. But you have 4 different strengths, and so yours are a different mix. And so that's why, Jeff, you love to come up with the ideas and put them into writing. Lisa, you have these ideas and you want to talk to people. You want to be out, coming up with new ways to promote things. So it's fabulous that, each person can find the ways in which they can be successful. When you add in, what are you passionate about? The affect, what are your values? And then what are the skills you bring to the table? It's when those 3 overlap that you truly find your place of joy.
You know what? Just a funny thing here. I thought when I first heard that you, Bob, knew Jeff almost as long as you knew me, my first thought was, oh, it's too bad I didn't run into him at the Extreme Business Makeover or something, because we could have been doing projects all along. And you know what? It dawned on me that probably isn't true, because I couldn't have been the partner to him that I am now. I didn't have the same skill set I had then. And I can't speak for him, but this probably was the right time to meet to
Oh,
do
sure.
something. And it just was funny that my first inclination was, oh, darn, I could have known him longer, but now I think it probably was the right time.
Well, I think it was Dr. John Maxwell, and Jeff, you brought up his book, and in the book you mentioned the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I think that was my first leadership book I ever read, and that was after realizing that I was a horrible leader. I'd gone from sales producer to sales manager, and I was not good. And I realized I needed to learn, what to do. So that was the first book I read on leadership. But John Maxwell says something very similar to what Lisa just said, because I've heard him say that people have said, "Oh, Dr. Maxwell, I should have read this book. I wish I could have read this book 30 years ago." And he said, "Well, it wouldn't have been around because I didn't know this 30 years ago." So everybody grows. We all grow at our own pace, and we look back at what we could have done 10, 15 years ago had a certain opportunity presented itself. We don't know that the time was right or that we were right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, timing being everything. I think back, I don't know how long it's been now, 2.5 years since the Go Giver Success Alliance, since you guys started that. And I remember when you first contacted me about it, getting on the first calls and doing all that. My focus was to try to think in terms, okay, how can I be helpful? How can I make this better experience for everybody? What can I do on my part? And little did I know how it would work out so well. I mean, granted, we all try to do that for each other. That's who we are. But if you guys hadn't put that together, everybody who's so far, and there's been a lot of people tell us how much they love the Blue Hair book.
Yeah.
That thing would not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
it's because of what you guys did there. You created an environment that everybody that's part of that can benefit from it. And so to say I'm grateful just doesn't do it service. It's just that you guys are amazing. So
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for you guys taking the ball and running with it.
Sure.
We just,
those of you listening know that out of the 4 of us, I am the least accomplished person.
Not
see it that way.
Just let me say that.
There are all the time.
But there aren't many opportunities for someone to be around the type and the accomplished people like there are in the Go Giver Success Alliance. Where would I have that opportunity to be exposed to all of these professional people? How would have I even had Jeff to be able to talk to him? Because I wouldn't have been in a place where I would have had that access. So, I mean, that's the Go Giver Success Alliance is awesome for anybody, especially people like me that do not have these big giant accomplishments already, that I want to have those kind of accomplishments, and I need to be around accomplished people to be able to do that. And this is a place where you can be around a whole bunch of accomplished people.
I appreciate that, and I receive that with gratitude. But I've got to kind of call you on this thing.
Thank you, Bob.
Person who has accomplished what you've accomplished from where you began and the decision you made and what you did and what you have done. Oh my gosh, I cannot think of many people more accomplished.
No, thank you.
And she is, after all, the 5th highest earner in Avon history in the entire universe.
Number 4 before she started slipping.
That's right.
Well, I was number 4 briefly 2 weeks ago, but I didn't.
You went
I
back.
know. So it's getting up there. I'm having a comeback.
It's like one of my salespeople at Aflac held the world record for the longest drive for 15 minutes, and someone beat him. I know we're already past 6:30, and I would stay here with you guys all night, but I want to be respectful of your time and all that. A couple of things to promote: the GoGiverSuccessAlliance.com. Everybody in this group, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, you're all in sales or entrepreneurship and business, check that group out. It is something you should consider doing. Bob also has some daily impact emails, and you'll see me sharing and posting about that a lot, as well as seeing Bob. Kathy, how do we direct people to the things you're doing with the Colby? How do we direct people to that?
I'll put it in the chat, but it's thegogiver.com/Colby.
Okay. And then one other event, and I'm going to recommend this like crazy, people. I know a lot of our audience are in direct sales. A lot of our audience are independent sales, like insurance and real estate and all that. There's an event that Bob and Kathy put on 3 to 4 times a year, and it is a mentorship. It's beyond the mastermind, still what you're calling that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mentorship program. It's like a 3-day thing in Jupiter, Florida. I was honored to go once to be a guest master coach on it. But the power of this event, I've not seen anything like that. And I've been around some really great events before. But the way that Bob and Kathy work with the group, the way each person who attends gets an hour's focus just on their business, where the whole group is coaching them and they're brainstorming about different things, and the quality of that, it is literally the best event I've ever seen of anything like that type. And so if you guys want to say a couple of things about that too before we get off, that would be great.
Sure. Do you want to go first? Or me?
Sure.
Well, it's one of my favorite things that we do outside of the Success Alliance. But it's just amazing to get away and immerse yourself. Everything we do is around applying these 5 laws, and you get an hour dedicated to you and your business, whether you want to focus on a business challenge or opportunity. Some people, it's themselves, it's sort of they're looking at changing what they're doing. And then you have 11 of us, because there's Bob and I. We always have 2 master coaches. Jeff was one of our amazing ones at a previous one. So there were 4 of us, coaches, if you will. And then, you and 7 other participants. And we're all there just focus on you, giving you our brain power to help uplift, support you, and helping you make that transformation into who you really want to be. And I love it. It's just the funnest thing. So, Bob?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And just go to, if you'd like, beyondthemastermind.com. We try to make things really simple.
I've put it in the chat on Facebook.
Well, I don't think I have ever seen an event where every single participant, at the end of that time, you could tell by their comments, by the feelings they were expressing, every single one of them got so much from that time. I don't say this just because you guys are my friends. I say it because I've never seen anything that good. So kudos to both of you. You're just amazing.
Well, and it speaks to the quality of individuals that come. And, they show up, and even though it may be a little feel a little intimidating or challenging, they feel safe, they open up, and the more you open up, the more you gain from the experience. And so it's just beautiful to see that happen.
You know, the one that I was at had Frank the Fixer Favaro there. I'm still in the develop my moniker mood.
And I still like Frankie the Fixer, but
Problems go away. Well, guys, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. We love you to death, and Lisa and I personally are just hugely grateful, hugely indebted to what you've done, because we're one of the people who have benefited from that effort. And so just love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
love you both too. Love you more.
And everybody out there, please continue to go online. If you haven't put reviews or ratings online on Amazon, please do. And most of you have read The Go-Giver already too. So if you haven't put a review up about that, please do that too. Every review causes the Amazon algorithms, when people are searching for a book, it goes across the bottom. If you've got enough reviews and it's a similar book, it says, "Oh, you may also like these books." I was so excited when the lady with the blue hair showed up for the first time. I didn't know what to do. So anyway, but we love everybody. We will see you all next week, and God bless you.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.
This is the part